History's greatest secrets are hiding right in front of us. You have walked past them in museums, you have seen them in photographs, and they are etched into the landscapes of our world. These are not lost artifacts buried in deep tombs, but clues, messages, and entire stories left in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice. This is a real-world treasure hunt, and you are invited. Together, we will uncover 30 of these incredible historical secrets, from a hidden brain in the Sistine Chapel to an ancient computer found at the bottom of the sea. By the end, your perception of the past will be fundamentally transformed. How did a medieval map show a continent no one had discovered? Why would a civilization carve perfect stone spheres for a purpose we can no longer understand? What single question would you ask if you could unlock one of history's greatest mysteries? Look up at the most famous ceiling in the world. For centuries, millions have gazed upon Michelangelo's masterpiece in the Sistine Chapel, seeing only the divine story he was commissioned to paint. But tilt your perspective just slightly, and an entirely different narrative emerges, one painted in secret right beside the holy images. Art historians and medical experts have begun to uncover a stunning truth. They believe Michelangelo, a man known to have dissected corpses in secret to understand the human form, embedded detailed anatomical drawings within the clouds and robes of God himself. In the central panel depicting the separation of light from darkness, where God reaches out to create the cosmos, the neck and throat of the deity are formed in a very peculiar way. When analyzed, the shadows and folds of the painting resolve into a near-perfect illustration of the human brainstem, the very core of our nervous system. This was not a simple artistic flourish, it was a dangerously bold statement. At a time when the church strictly controlled scientific inquiry, especially human dissection, Michelangelo was secretly arguing that the divine was not separate from the physical body, but intimately connected to it. He was suggesting that to understand creation, one must first understand the human mind. This hidden brain is a deliberate code, a declaration that intellect and science are pathways to the divine, painted for a future that would finally be able to see it. This same desire to encode knowledge into the landscape can be seen on a truly monumental scale, etched across the plains of southern Peru. The Nazca Lines are a collection of hundreds of gigantic geoglyphs stretching for miles across the arid desert floor. From the ground, they appear as little more than shallow grooves in the earth, but from the air, they resolve into staggering images of spiders, hummingbirds, monkeys, and whales. For decades, their impossible scale fueled speculation about ancient astronauts, but the real secret is far more profound. These lines were not landing strips for visitors from the stars, but a sophisticated, open-air observatory and calendar designed to track the heavens with astonishing precision. Archaeological evidence points to a civilization that was deeply in tune with the cosmos. The Nazca people did not need alien intervention. They had a masterful understanding of astronomy and geometry. Specific lines, some running arrow straight for over 20 miles, align perfectly with the position of the sun on the summer and winter solstices. Other pathways point directly to the rising points of crucial stars and constellations on the horizon, events that marked the turning of the seasons. Can you envision the ceremonies that took place here? A priest or astronomer would walk along a specific line at a precise time of year, their body becoming a living pointer on this giant celestial clock. When the sun rose directly over the line they were standing on, it signaled the time to plant crops or the arrival of rains, turning the entire desert into a practical guide for survival. This was more than just an agricultural tool, it was a sacred map. The animal figures themselves are believed to represent constellations important to Nazca mythology, physically mapping the heavens onto the earth. The hummingbird, the monkey, the spider, they were not random choices but celestial beings made permanent in the soil. The entire plateau became a temple without walls, a place where the earthly and the divine met. The Nazca Lines are a testament to human ingenuity, a civilization that used simple tools and profound knowledge to transform their entire world into a permanent record of time itself. A secret written so large it could only be read by the gods or by us centuries later, looking down from the sky. While the Nazca Lines were a secret written across the desert, another mystery was being bound into a book. Deep within the vault of a university library lies a manuscript that has defied every attempt at understanding for over 500 years. The Voynich manuscript is a small, unassuming book filled with pages of an unknown script, accompanied by bizarre illustrations of plants that do not exist, intricate astrological charts, and countless drawings of naked women bathing in strange, interconnected pools of green liquid. From the moment it resurfaced in the early 20th century, it has been a cryptographer's ultimate challenge. World War II codebreakers, the very same minds who cracked the Enigma machine, turned their skills to its pages and were utterly defeated. They applied every known medieval cipher, from complex substitution codes to Cardan grills, yet the text remained stubbornly unreadable. The failure was so complete that some began to propose it was written in a lost language, one that died with its author and left no key behind. The most intriguing recent theories, however, suggest the secret is hiding in plain sight in a different way. One compelling idea posits that the book is not a sophisticated code at all, but an elaborate and expensive hoax crafted to dupe a wealthy patron. The text, in this view, is meaningless glyphs designed to look like a language, a clever forgery that has fooled experts for centuries. Another, more poignant theory looks at those illustrations of women and proposes the manuscript was a specialized pharmacopoeia, a guide to women's health and reproduction, with its own secret vocabulary to protect such intimate knowledge. Could its purpose have been so practical, so human, that we have been overthinking it all along? The book has sat on the shelves of major libraries, handled by countless scholars, and yet its true message remains locked away. It is a testament to the fact that some of history's greatest secrets are not lost in tombs, but are patiently waiting in the open, daring someone to finally see what everyone else has missed. A corroded lump of bronze and wood, pulled from a Mediterranean shipwreck over a century ago, looked like little more than worthless sea-encrusted junk. For nearly 50 years, it sat in a museum storage box, its true nature hidden by a thick layer of mineralized rock and corrosion. But then, a curious researcher took a closer look, and the world's understanding of ancient technology was shattered forever. This unassuming object, now known as the Antikythera mechanism, is the oldest known analog computer in the world. X-ray and CT scans have revealed its secret interior, a stunningly complex clockwork of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, precisely machined and arranged in a system more sophisticated than any instrument for the next 1,000 years. This was not a simple calendar, it was a portable, hand-cranked cosmos. By turning a handle on the side, an ancient Greek philosopher or sailor could model the unpredictable motions of the heavens. One set of gears tracked the sun and moon, predicting their positions with remarkable accuracy. Another, more complex series of gears, known as epicyclic gearing, replicated the apparent backward loops of the planets against the starfield. A tiny, painted ball would rotate, showing the phase of the moon on any given date. It even included a dial that counted down to the next Olympic Games, tying the celestial cycles directly to the most important social and religious event in the Greek world. The mechanism was a physical demonstration of Greek astronomical knowledge, a miniature universe inside a wooden box. Its very existence is a historical secret of immense proportions. We are forced to confront a staggering truth. The technological and scientific prowess of the ancient Greek world was far greater than we ever believed. This was not a one-off marvel, but a product of a thriving tradition of Chinese letter engineering, a tradition that was utterly lost for centuries. Who were the geniuses who designed and built this? What other incredible devices did they create that have since crumbled to dust or still lie hidden on the ocean floor? The Antikythera mechanism forces us to rewrite history, proving that the seeds of our own technological age were planted and then forgotten long, long ago. But the most startling feature on this map is a landmass to the south. Piri Reis labeled this coastline, and modern cartographers were stunned to realize it bears a striking and deeply controversial resemblance to the northern coast of Antarctica. This is the true secret hidden in the ink and parchment. The continent of Antarctica was not officially discovered until the early 19th century, over 300 years after this map was drawn. Its coastline is buried under miles of glacial ice, a shape that was completely unknown to any 16th century explorer. So how did an Ottoman admiral accurately depict a land that was not just unexplored but utterly invisible? Piri Reis himself provided a clue in the map's notes. He wrote that he compiled his work from many source maps, including what he called ancient charts from the time of Alexander the Great. This has led to one incredible theory. Could he have been using maps that survived from the legendary Library of Alexandria, a repository of ancient knowledge that was tragically burned? These lost maps might have contained geographic knowledge from civilizations even older than the Greeks, seafaring cultures who may have charted the entire globe, including an ice-free Antarctica, thousands of years before the Ottomans. Another theory suggests that medieval explorers, whose voyages were never recorded in the history books, actually sailed these southern waters and brought back the charts that Piri Reis would later use. The map forces us to confront a radical idea that the age of exploration we learn about in school was merely a rediscovery, a second wave of global navigation built upon the forgotten achievements of ancient mariners. Was our planet fully mapped in prehistory, only for that knowledge to be lost in the fires of fallen libraries and the silence of sunken ships? The Piri Reis map is more than a historical artifact. It is a ghost, a whisper of a world that might have been, and a challenge to everything we think we know about our past. While ancient libraries held maps of lost continents, another kind of list promised a fortune in precious metal. Among the famous Dead Sea Scrolls discovered in clay jars in desert caves, one document stands completely apart. It is not a religious prophecy or a lost book of the Bible. Known as the Copper Scroll, its message is brutally practical, a straightforward inventory of hidden wealth. This ancient text is quite literally a treasure map, listing 64 separate caches of gold and silver, with amounts so vast they are almost unbelievable. The scroll describes tons of precious metal, along with rare incense and other treasures, all secreted away in the Judean wilderness. The directions, however, are a perfect historical trap. They are incredibly specific, naming valleys, dams, and cisterns, yet these landmarks have been erased by 2,000 years of erosion, earthquakes, and human development. The scroll might instruct a seeker to dig at a specific location under a specific staircase in a specific canal, but that staircase and canal have long since crumbled to dust. This creates the ultimate hidden in plain sight paradox. We possess the exact instructions, but the world they describe has vanished. The most compelling theory is that this was the treasure of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, hidden away just before the Roman legions sacked and destroyed the city in the 1st century. Fearing the impending conquest, temple priests could have compiled this list and hidden it with the other scrolls for safekeeping. Modern expeditions have used advanced technology, from ground-penetrating radar to satellite imagery, to follow its cryptic clues. They have dug at sites that seem to match the descriptions, only to find empty holes, their efforts defeated by the slow, inexorable march of time. The treasure itself, if it ever existed, remains stubbornly out of reach. Perhaps it was discovered and looted centuries ago by someone who could still read the landscape. Or maybe it still lies buried, waiting not for a better map, but for someone who can finally decipher the ancient geography, to see the land not as it is, but as it was. You know the iconic stone heads of Easter Island, but you have only ever seen half of the story. Those brooding faces staring from the hillsides are not merely heads. They are the tips of a colossal iceberg with immense, fully carved bodies buried deep beneath the soil. For centuries, the Moai were known to the world only as disembodied giants, their true forms concealed by centuries of erosion and shifting earth. It was only when archaeologists began to carefully excavate around the bases of these statues that the staggering secret was revealed. They uncovered torsos, some descending over 20 feet into the ground, each one a masterpiece of engineering and art. These are not rough-hewn pillars, but complete human figures with detailed backs, shoulders, and arms, their hands resting gracefully on their stomachs in a powerful, symbolic pose. The most astonishing discovery, however, was not their size, but the messages carved into their skin. These buried bodies are covered in intricate petroglyphs, a secret language etched into the stone. You find detailed representations of canoe paddles, which could speak to the islanders' seafaring heritage, and repeated symbols that some believe form a kind of family signature, identifying the clan that commissioned the statue. These carvings were never meant to be seen by the living. They were a permanent record for the earth itself, a hidden history waiting for a future generation to unearth. This completely transforms the narrative of Easter Island. The popular tale of a society that collapsed from ecological folly, recklessly cutting down trees to move their statues, is suddenly inadequate. How could a dying, desperate people possibly have the time, resources, and collective will to carve such elaborate, hidden artistry? The truth revealed by these buried bodies points to a society of profound complexity and stability. They possessed not just the brute strength to move multi-ton monoliths, but the sophisticated engineering knowledge to erect them in deep pits, ensuring their stability. They had a rich symbolic culture, one that invested immense effort into parts of their monuments that would be intentionally hidden from view. This was a civilization with a deep, spiritual connection to their ancestors, believing that the mana or spiritual power of the figure was invested in its entirety, not just the visible face. So much of their story is not lost, but patiently waiting, hidden in plain sight just a few feet below the grass. What other secrets are lying beneath the surface of that remote island, and what would they tell us if we could only listen? Beneath the sands of Giza lies a secret far greater than any tomb. The Great Sphinx, that colossal guardian of the pyramids, has kept a hidden world sealed under its massive paws for millennia. While tourists walk across the plateau and cameras capture its iconic profile, advanced technology is revealing a startling truth. Seismic surveys and ground-penetrating radar have consistently detected anomalies beneath the monument, suggesting a network of hollow chambers and potential passageways. These are not natural caves, but seemingly man-made voids, hidden directly below one of the most intensely studied sites on Earth. The legends of these subterranean spaces are ancient. Roman historians wrote of a hidden entrance located on the Sphinx's back, a secret door that led to a labyrinth deep within the bedrock. For centuries, these accounts were dismissed as fanciful myths, but the modern scientific data forces us to reconsider. What if those ancient stories were not fiction, but a faded memory of a real, physical place? The most compelling theory suggests these chambers could be the legendary Hall of Records. This is not a literal library of papyrus scrolls, but a repository of knowledge left by a highly advanced pre-pharaonic civilization. Proponents believe the builders of the Sphinx, a culture far older than the ancient Egyptians we know, encoded their wisdom here as a time capsule for a future age. They might have stored their understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and perhaps even the history of a world before our own, all sealed within the stone. The ultimate secret of the Sphinx, therefore, is not just the tunnels themselves, but what they were built to preserve. Is the Sphinx merely a statue, or is it the guardian of a forgotten chapter in human history, a silent sentinel waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth hidden directly beneath our feet? Stitched into a 70-meter-long linen cloth is the official story of one of history's most pivotal moments, the Norman conquest of England. For nearly 1,000 years, the Bayeux Tapestry has been displayed as a straightforward chronicle of Duke William's rightful claim to the English throne and his glorious victory at the Battle of Hastings. But pull your focus back from the grand central narrative and look closer into the intricate borders that frame the entire epic. There, in the margins, a secret and deeply subversive story is being told. While the main panels show Norman knights in triumphant procession, the top and bottom edges unravel with bizarre and unsettling scenes. You find naked figures, mythical beasts from local folklore, and animals engaged in violent, symbolic struggles. These are not mere decorative flourishes. They are a clandestine commentary, a dangerous descent stitched into the very fabric of official history. One of the most perplexing of these marginal scenes sits directly above the main narrative. It depicts a naked man, his form contorted and exposed, positioned right next to a central image of an important political meeting. This is not a random placement. Many historians now believe this was a deliberate act of subversion by the Anglo-Saxon embroiderers, most of whom were women. Forced to create a work glorifying their own conquerors, they secretly sowed their scorn and resistance into the borders, using a visual language of shame and mockery that their Norman patrons would not understand. The most enduring secret, however, is not in the border but in the main panel itself. There is a single mysterious scene that has never been explained. It shows a well-dressed woman named Elfgiva standing in a doorway while a cleric reaches out to touch her face. No historical record clarifies this moment. Who was Elfgiva? Why is this intimate, seemingly scandalous encounter included in a grand military epic? The meaning was so well known at the time that the tapestry's creators felt no need to explain it, but to us it is a complete enigma. Was it a reference to a political scandal meant to undermine William's ally, Bishop Odo? Or was it a tragic love story, a piece of popular gossip woven into the historical record? This single panel is a ghost of 1,000 lost stories, a stark reminder that the tapestry we see today is a palimpsest, its true, layered narrative waiting just beneath the surface of its most famous stitches. The real conquest was not just won on the battlefield, but in the story told afterward, and the Bayeux Tapestry proves that even the victor's version can be secretly contested, one subversive thread at a time. Deep within the crypts of the Hathor Temple at Dendera, a stone relief has ignited a modern mystery. Etched into the wall is a bizarre and compelling image. It shows a large, elongated object, pear-shaped like a modern glass bulb. Inside this bulb curls a snake, its head pointing outward. The snake is held in place by a pillar, and a cable seems to connect the base of the bulb to a box which is being gripped by a kneeling priest. To any modern eye, this is an unmistakable depiction of an electric light bulb. The parallels are almost too perfect to ignore: a filament represented by the serpent, a socket in the base, and even power supplied from a box that could be an ancient battery. This is the so-called Dendera light, and it has become a cornerstone for theories of lost ancient technology. The idea is intoxicating. Could the ancient Egyptians have harnessed electricity, using it to illuminate the dark, windowless depths of their massive temples and tombs? Proponents of this view point to a striking absence of soot from torches or oil lamps in many of these enclosed spaces, asking how else such intricate artwork could have been executed in total darkness. The Dendera light, in this interpretation, is a technical diagram, a secret of advanced engineering hidden in plain sight on a temple wall. Mainstream Egyptology, however, offers a very different, deeply symbolic explanation. Egyptologists identify the object not as a bulb, but as a lotus flower, a sacred symbol of creation and rebirth. The snake emerging from it is a well-known icon representing the god Harsomptus, a manifestation of the sun god born from a lotus. The entire scene is a spiritual metaphor. The pillar is the Jed pillar, a symbol of stability, and the box is not a battery but a divine womb. The cable is actually a serpent spirit connecting the entire apparatus to the cosmic forces of creation. This was not an instruction manual for an electrician, but a theological statement about the genesis of light and life, carved for priests who understood its sacred context. So why does the technological interpretation hold such powerful sway? It speaks directly to our own assumptions and desires. We live in a world defined by technology, so we are predisposed to see technological solutions in the past. The idea that a civilization we consider ancient might have possessed knowledge we thought was exclusively modern is thrilling. It challenges the linear narrative of human progress and suggests that genius can be forgotten, that history is not a straight line but a cycle of discovery and loss. The Decoded reliefs force us to confront a fundamental question. Are we projecting our own world onto the past, or are we sometimes too quick to dismiss the extraordinary? Whether it is a spiritual symbol or a lost device, the true secret of Decoded is its power to make us question what we think we know about the trajectory of human innovation. A hammer should not be found inside a rock. This simple, undeniable fact is the heart of a mystery discovered in London, Texas during the 1930s. While hiking along a rocky outcrop near Red Creek, a local couple made a staggering find. Protruding from a solid lump of stone was a piece of wood, and embedded firmly within that wood was the iron head of a hammer. It was not simply resting on the rock, it was completely encased within it, as if the stone had formed around the tool itself. The rock was later identified as coming from the Cretaceous period, a layer of the Earth dating back over 100 million years, a time when dinosaurs ruled the planet and humanity was not even a distant evolutionary glimmer. This object, now known as the London Hammer, became an instant sensation and one of the world's most famous out-of-place artifacts, an OOP art. The implications were earth-shattering. If the hammer was as old as the rock that encased it, then everything we know about human history and evolution is fundamentally wrong. It would mean that an intelligent, tool-using species walked the Earth millions of years before our earliest ancestors appeared. The hammer itself is a relatively simple design with a wooden handle and an iron head, but its context makes it extraordinary. Scientists who have analyzed the metal found its composition to be unusual, with a very low carbon content and a strange lack of impurities, a metallurgical recipe that does not match modern manufacturing. This only deepened the enigma. Was this a relic from a lost civilization, a time traveler's misplaced tool, or something else entirely? The more plausible explanation, and the one favored by mainstream geology, is both simpler and reveals a fascinating natural process. The theory posits that the hammer is not ancient at all, but a relatively recent miner's or worker's tool from the 19th century. It was likely dropped or left behind, and over time it fell into a soft, mineral-rich slurry. This slurry, composed of dissolved limestone and other minerals, can harden around an object with astonishing speed, forming a solid concretion. This process does not take millions of years, it can happen in a matter of decades. The concretion that formed around the hammer simply looks like the ancient Cretaceous rock that surrounds it, creating a powerful and convincing illusion of immense age. So the secret of the London Hammer is not a rewrite of history, but a masterclass in geological deception. It forces us to confront how easily our eyes can be fooled by nature's ability to camouflage the new within a shell of the old. This humble tool presents us with a choice. Do we see a world-shattering anomaly, or a testament to the patient, creative power of the earth itself to hide its own secrets in the most ordinary of objects? High on a mountain plateau overlooking Cusco, the stone walls of Sacsayhuaman defy logic. You are not looking at simple stacked blocks, but at a colossal, three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle carved from granite. Each stone is a unique, irregular giant, some weighing over 100 tons, yet they fit against their neighbors with a seam so tight you cannot slide a single piece of paper between them. This is not masonry, it is a form of geological magic achieved centuries ago without iron tools, without the wheel, and critically, without any mortar to fill the gaps. The secret locked in this fortress is not just the staggering how, but the profound why. Why would a civilization invest such impossible effort, such otherworldly precision, for what appears to be a simple retaining wall? The construction technique is so advanced that modern engineers are still baffled. Some researchers point to the Incan reverence for sound and vibration, suggesting a lost knowledge of acoustic levitation, where specific frequencies might have been used to make the massive stones temporarily weightless, allowing workers to maneuver them into place with ease. Another compelling theory proposes the use of a powerful, plant-based chemical agent, a liquid derived from local vegetation that could temporarily soften the granite to a clay-like consistency, allowing artisans to mold the stones together perfectly before the rock re-hardened. This was not a one-off miracle for a king's tomb. The same technique appears in countless Incan structures, from humble terraces to royal palaces. This fact is the most startling of all. It means this godlike craftsmanship was not reserved for the sacred few, but was a standard, commonplace technology for the Inca. Their entire architectural world was built with a sophistication we can barely comprehend. If this was their everyday construction method, then what masterpieces, what impossible buildings were lost when their civilization fell? The true secret of Sacsayhuaman is not in the stones you can see, but in the echo of a lost knowledge so complete that its most mundane applications still leave us utterly humbled. The stone walls of Sacsayhuaman represent a pinnacle of human ingenuity. But what if our entire timeline of civilization's rise is fundamentally wrong? Tucked away on a windswept hilltop in southeastern Turkey lies a discovery so revolutionary it shatters the conventional story of human progress. Göbekli Tepe is a sprawling temple complex built over 11,000 years ago, a staggering 6,000 years before Stonehenge and long before the invention of pottery or the wheel. This was not the work of a settled farming society, but of nomadic hunter-gatherers. They somehow organized to erect a vast circular complex of massive, T-shaped limestone pillars, each one weighing many tons and covered in breathtakingly intricate carvings. On these pillars, you find a menagerie of ancient creatures, from fearsome scorpions and charging boars to elegant waterbirds and slithering snakes. For decades, these images were viewed as powerful spiritual symbols, a hunter's tribute to the animals they revered. But a startling new interpretation suggests these carvings hold a far darker and more precise secret. Some researchers now believe these are not random animals, but a sophisticated celestial map recording a cataclysmic event. The theory focuses on one particular pillar known as the vulture stone. Its surface is dominated by a large vulture, but below it, the imagery becomes abstract and strange. You see a scorpion, a bird, and another bird with a long, curling neck, all arranged in a specific cluster. When researchers translated these symbols into constellations, they found the scorpion represented Scorpius, the bird was Sagittarius, and the long-necked bird was the constellation we know as Cygnus, the swan. The specific arrangement of these animals on the pillar, according to this hypothesis, mirrors the exact positions of these constellations in the night sky around 10,950 BC. This date is critically important because it coincides almost exactly with the onset of the Younger Dryas, a sudden and brutal period of global cooling that lasted for more than 1,000 years. Geological evidence strongly suggests this mini-ice age was triggered by a cataclysmic event, most likely the fragments of a giant comet exploding in our atmosphere or striking the Earth's surface. The resulting environmental collapse would have been apocalyptic, wiping out megafauna like the mammoths and plunging human societies into a desperate struggle for survival. Could the builders of Göbekli Tepe have witnessed this horror? Is it possible they encoded the memory of that world-shattering event into the very stones of their most sacred site, creating a permanent warning for future generations? The carvings on the vulture stone offer a chilling clue. Next to the constellation symbols, there is a series of small, bag-like shapes. The researchers proposing this theory interpret these not as pouches, but as the comet fragments themselves, shown raining down from the sky toward a helpless, headless human figure below. If this interpretation is correct, then Göbekli Tepe is not merely a temple. It is the world's oldest known historical record, a secret history of a global catastrophe carved in stone by the survivors. It means that a sophisticated understanding of astronomy and a desperate need to preserve a traumatic memory existed millennia before we ever thought possible. These hunter-gatherers were not simple primitives. They were astronomers and historians, hiding a warning to the future in plain sight on the pillars of their greatest architectural achievement. Standing in a quiet Rhode Island park is a tower that should not exist. The Newport Tower rises from a grassy hill, its simple stone arches and cylindrical form looking utterly out of place in the New England landscape. For generations, official history books have labeled it a 17th-century colonial windmill built by the early Governor Benedict Arnold, but look closer and that explanation begins to crumble like old mortar. The tower's architecture tells a different, much older story. Its construction, with 8 sturdy pillars supporting a round stone vault, bears a striking resemblance not to any known colonial building, but to the round churches built across Europe by the Knights Templar during the medieval period. Compare it to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Cambridge, England, and the similarity is uncanny. This single observation opens a door to a far more radical possibility. What if this tower was not built by English settlers, but by visitors who arrived centuries before Columbus ever set sail? The most compelling alternate theory points directly to the Norse. We know from the Viking sagas that Leif Erikson established a settlement called Vinland somewhere on the North American coast around the year 1000. The Newport Tower's design and masonry are eerily similar to Norse round towers found in Scandinavia, structures that often served as both churches and navigational landmarks. Even more telling are the celestial alignments built into its very stones. Specific windows and archways are positioned to frame the sunrise on the solstices, a feature common in Norse and other European prehistoric sites, but entirely unnecessary for a simple colonial windmill. Another, more speculative theory suggests the tower could be evidence of a Chinese voyage. Some researchers see parallels between its arches and the architecture of Chinese pagodas, proposing it was built by the fleet of the explorer Zheng He in the 14th century. The secret of the Newport Tower is not locked away in a vault but standing in plain sight for anyone to visit. It is a physical challenge to the tidy timeline we were all taught in school. Why would colonial settlers struggling for survival in a harsh new world expend enormous effort to quarry, shape, and lift tons of stone to build a structure with such precise astronomical alignments when a simple wooden mill would have sufficed? The tower does not fit their world. It feels like a relic from another time, a stubborn ghost from a forgotten age of exploration. Its true builder remains a mystery, a silent sentinel in a public park that dares us to question who really discovered America. Scattered across the sun-baked islands of Malta and Gozo, a labyrinth of ancient grooves is carved directly into the limestone bedrock. These are the Cartruts, a sprawling network of parallel channels that form one of the Mediterranean's most perplexing archaeological mysteries. They are not hidden in caves or buried in tombs. They are etched into the very surface of the land, crossed by modern roads and walked over by farmers for centuries. Their secret is not their location, but their meaning. Who created this island-wide system, and what incredible purpose could it have served that has been so completely erased from human memory? The ruts themselves are deceptively simple, pairs of tracks worn deep into the stone, some so precise they look as if they were made yesterday. Yet they crisscross the landscape in a chaotic web, merging, diverging, and in some breathtaking instances, running straight off towering sea cliffs to plunge into the deep blue water below. This is not the logic of a modern road system. It suggests a world where the very geography was different, or the purpose was so alien to our own that we can no longer grasp its design. The most popular theory is that these were literal cart tracks used to transport the massive stone blocks for Malta's other great mysteries, its megalithic temples. The idea is compelling. Imagine sleds or carts, heavily laden with multi-ton stones, being dragged along the same paths for generations until they wore permanent scars into the soft limestone. This would make them prehistoric highways, the infrastructure behind some of the oldest free-standing structures on Earth. But this practical explanation quickly unravels under closer scrutiny. The ruts often run in illogical patterns for transport, heading straight up steep inclines or ending abruptly at cliff edges. In one famous location, the Misragar il-Kay Bur, the ruts weave and intersect in a tangled knot that looks more like a complex railway switchyard than a simple thoroughfare. This has led to other, more intriguing possibilities. Could they have been part of a massive, island-wide irrigation system, channels designed to guide precious rainwater to fields in a land with no permanent rivers? Or were they something more symbolic, a physical representation of a spiritual pathway, etched into the earth for ceremonial processions? Some researchers have even noted that certain tracks align with celestial events, like the rising of specific stars, suggesting the entire network might have been a giant calendar, its purpose to map the heavens onto the land. The true secret of the cart ruts is their scale and their permanence. This was not a small, experimental project. It was a civilization's monumental undertaking, an effort that reshaped the entire surface of their islands. The fact that their function is now a complete blank spot in history is a humbling reminder of how fragile knowledge can be. An entire culture's greatest public works project, something every citizen would have seen and used every single day, has become a silent stone riddle. We are left walking in their footsteps, or rather, staring at the tracks their world left behind, wondering what urgent need or profound belief was powerful enough to make them carve their entire home into a puzzle for the future. A simple clay jar sitting in the basement of a museum holds a secret that could upend our entire understanding of ancient technology. Found in the 1930s near Baghdad, this unassuming artifact from the Parthian period around 2,000 years ago looks like a common storage vessel. But its contents tell a different story. Inside the jar, archaeologists discovered a copper cylinder, sealed at the bottom with asphalt, and suspended within it an iron rod. It was a strange and deliberate configuration, one that made no sense for storing grain or water. A curious German scientist named Wilhelm Koenig, who first studied the objects, had a revolutionary idea. He proposed that if this jar were filled with an acidic liquid, something as common as vinegar or grape juice, it would function as a simple battery. The acidic electrolyte would react with the two different metals, causing electrons to flow from the iron rod to the copper cylinder, generating a small but measurable electric current. This was not a theoretical concept. Modern replicas have proven it works, producing around 1 volt of electricity, enough to create a faint tingle or power a small light. The implications are staggering. If this interpretation is correct, the principle of the galvanic cell was understood and put to use centuries before Alessandro Volta invented the modern battery in the year 1800. So what possible use could an ancient civilization have for a trickle of electricity? The most compelling theory points to the stunning gold and silver artifacts from the same era. Objects plated with a microscopically thin layer of gold, a process known as electroplating, have been found throughout Mesopotamia. The Baghdad battery could have provided the necessary current. An artisan could have connected a series of these jars together to create a higher voltage, dipped an object into a gold salt solution, and used the electrical charge to bond the gold particles directly onto the surface of a silver ornament. This was not magic, it was primitive electrochemistry, a lost art hiding in plain sight among common pottery. Of course, not everyone is convinced by this electrifying idea. Skeptics offer a more mundane explanation. They argue these were simply secure containers used to store sacred papyrus or parchment scrolls. The iron rod was a convenient spindle to roll the scroll on, and the asphalt seal kept the contents safe from moisture and pests. The copper cylinder was just a protective case. This is a perfectly logical, practical use for such an object. But then, why the specific, electrochemically perfect combination of metals? Why go to the trouble of sealing an iron rod inside a copper cylinder with an asphalt plug, a design that seems almost engineered for a chemical reaction? The true secret of the Baghdad battery is not just its potential function, but the profound question it forces us to ask. Are we looking at a sacred scroll jar, or are we looking at the physical proof of a forgotten scientific tradition? The object itself does not change. It is our interpretation that unlocks its story. This humble clay pot challenges the linear narrative of human progress, suggesting that sparks of genius can flare up, be used for a time, and then be lost for centuries, waiting in a dusty museum cabinet for a future generation to recognize their power once more. Deep in the river deltas of Costa Rica, workers clearing land for banana plantations in the 1930s uncovered objects that seemed to defy nature. They were not artifacts of gold or jade, but stone, and their form was what stopped everyone in their tracks. Scattered across the landscape were hundreds of colossal spheres, some as small as a baseball, others larger than a car and weighing over 15 tons. Each one was carved from a single block of hard granite or gabbro, and each was a marvel of near-perfect geometry. Their surfaces were impossibly smooth, their curves so true that when modern archaeologists measured them with precision tools, they found the spheres were often within millimeters of being a perfect sphere. This level of precision, achieved by a pre-Columbian culture without metal tools, without the wheel, and without written records, is an engineering mystery that echoes across the centuries. How did they do it? The method was likely a testament to immense patience and skill. Artisans may have first identified a suitable boulder, then used fire to heat the surface, followed by a sudden dousing with cold water to create thermal shock and fracture away large flakes of stone. They would then have moved to smaller stone hammers, pecking away at the surface for generations, slowly refining the shape through countless tiny impacts, perhaps using sand as a final abrasive to achieve that breathtaking, flawless finish. But the how is only the beginning of the secret. The true and now lost mystery is the why. Why would a society dedicate such monumental effort to create these objects? One compelling theory casts them as celestial markers. Perhaps these spheres were arranged to mirror the positions of stars or to mark the solstice sunrises, turning entire river valleys into giant astronomical observatories. Another idea suggests they were powerful status symbols, with the size and perfection of a family's sphere denoting their wealth and influence, planted in the ground before their homes as a permanent declaration of power. The most tantalizing theory, however, is that they were not meant to be seen individually but as parts of a whole. Before many were looted and rolled away by tractors, these spheres were found in specific groupings, often arranged in straight lines, curves, or perfect triangles. Some researchers believe they formed a massive, island-wide geometric pattern, a hidden code etched into the very topography of Costa Rica. This pattern could have been a map of clan territories, a model of a spiritual cosmology, or even a navigational guide across the dense landscape. We will never know for certain because the secret was not in the spheres themselves, but in their precise relationship to one another. Their original placements, the context that gave them meaning, have been irrevocably scrambled by time. Today, they sit in government buildings, hospital lawns, and wealthy private gardens, beautiful but mute. They are the scattered pieces of a grand, forgotten puzzle. Their perfect forms a silent challenge from the past, asking us to see not just the object but the pattern that has vanished from the earth. There is a library of legendary scale rumored to lie directly beneath the feet of world leaders and tourists in Moscow's Red Square. The lost library of Ivan the Terrible, often called the Library of Alexandria of the North, is a phantom of immense historical value, a collection said to contain priceless ancient Greek and Roman scrolls and texts that could rewrite our understanding of classical history. The story begins with Ivan's grandmother, Sophia Paleolog, a niece of the last Byzantine emperor. She arrived in Moscow from Rome with a magnificent dowry that supposedly included rare manuscripts salvaged from the fall of Constantinople, a treasure trove of classical knowledge that the Byzantine elite had preserved for centuries. Ivan the Terrible, a man of immense learning and notorious paranoia, is believed to have inherited this collection and become its fierce guardian. Historical chronicles from the time mention his great interest in these books, but after his death in the late 16th century, the entire library vanished from all records. The most compelling theory is that he ordered it hidden away in a secret, subterranean vault beneath the Kremlin to protect it from fire, theft, or the prying eyes of his many enemies. For centuries, the search for this hidden hoard has consumed treasure hunters and historians. Expeditions have probed the labyrinthine cellars and foundations of the Kremlin from the time of Peter the Great to the Soviet era. Each search has ended in frustration, but each has also left behind tantalizing clues. Modern ground-penetrating radar and seismic surveys have repeatedly detected unexplained voids and anomalies deep under the fortress, chambers that do not appear on any architectural blueprint. One such scan beneath the Arsenal Tower revealed a large, hidden room, its dimensions suggesting a space designed for storage, not structural support. Yet every attempt to physically reach these spaces has been blocked by layers of later construction, underground rivers, or the sheer political sensitivity of digging beneath the seat of Russian power. This is the ultimate historical secret hiding in plain sight. The potential contents of this library are almost beyond comprehension. It could hold lost plays by Sophocles, unknown historical works by Aristotle, or complete versions of texts we only know from fragments quoted by other ancient authors. The knowledge lost when the Library of Alexandria burned would be, in part, resurrected from the cold Russian earth. The library is a ghost, a whisper of what might be waiting just out of reach, a treasure of intellect buried not in a remote desert, but beneath one of the most heavily studied and politically charged locations on the planet, forever daring us to find a way in. A monument for the end of the world stood quietly in rural Georgia for over 4 decades. Known as the Georgia Guidestones, this stark granite structure was erected in 1980 by a mysterious individual or group operating under the pseudonym R.C. Christian. Its 4 massive slabs crowned by a capstone were precisely aligned to track the sun and stars, but its true mystery was etched into its surfaces. In 8 of the world's most common languages, and in 4 ancient scripts like Babylonian cuneiform and Egyptian hieroglyphics, it presented 10 guides for humanity. These were not gentle suggestions, but stark commands for a future society. They called for maintaining the global human population below 500 million people, a drastic reduction that implied a cataclysmic event. They advocated guiding reproduction wisely, unifying humanity under a new global language, and balancing personal rights with social duties. The final guideline was perhaps the most cryptic of all, telling humanity to avoid being a cancer on the earth by leaving room for nature. This was not a hopeful vision of the future, but a set of instructions for a post-apocalyptic world, a secret code left not by an ancient civilization but by anonymous moderns. Who were R.C. Christian and his sponsors? Were they a secretive doomsday cult, a group of wealthy survivalists, or perhaps well-intentioned futurists trying to seed a message that would outlast them? The stones offered no clue, their origin story as enigmatic as their message. They stood as a modern-day OOP art, a bizarre anomaly that sparked endless debate, revered by some as a blueprint for salvation and reviled by others as a monument to a dark, elitist ideology. Then, in 2022, the mystery deepened in the most dramatic way possible. The guide stones, which had withstood decades of weather and scrutiny, were suddenly and violently destroyed. A massive explosion caught on a security camera shattered one of the pillars, and the remaining structure was later completely demolished for safety reasons. The message, once carved in stone for the ages, was abruptly erased. The secret of the Georgia Guidestones is now twofold. We are left to wonder not only about the true identity and purpose of its creators, but also about the motives of those who chose to obliterate it. Was the demolition an act of ideological hatred, a simple safety measure, or a deliberate effort to re-hide a secret that was never meant to be solved? The stones are gone, but the questions they raised now echo even louder. A modern puzzle was presented, stood in plain sight for a generation, and then was violently taken away, ensuring its enigmatic purpose would remain hidden forever. Scattered across the rolling plateaus of Laos, thousands of immense stone jars stand in silent, mysterious clusters. These are not delicate pottery, but massive, hand-carved monoliths, some taller than a person and weighing several tons. For centuries, their purpose was a blank space in history, a secret kept by the landscape itself. The most compelling theory, now supported by growing archaeological evidence, reveals a funerary practice both practical and profound. These jars were not for storing grain or water, but for the dead. It is believed the Iron Age people who carved them used the giant vessels in a complex two-stage burial ritual. A body would be placed inside a jar, exposed to the elements where the process of decomposition would naturally reduce it to a skeleton over time. This practice, known as excarnation, purified the bones of the flesh. After this transformation was complete, the clean bones would be carefully removed and buried in the earth nearby, often with precious stone markers and ceramic grave goods as offerings for the afterlife. Recent excavations have finally uncovered the physical proof hidden beneath the soil around the jars, finding human remains, intricate pottery, and those very markers. This was not a secret of concealment, but one of transformation. The entire plain was a vast, open-air cemetery, a sacred space where the community engaged directly with the cycle of life and death. The jars themselves were the central tool in this ritual, their immense permanent forms providing a dignified vessel for one of life's most profound transitions. Why choose such a monumental and laborious method? Each jar, quarried from distant mountains and painstakingly shaped, represents an incredible investment of effort for a single purpose. This suggests a deep spiritual belief in the importance of the journey after death, a need to facilitate the soul's release from the body through a visible, physical process. The silent jars are not merely tombs, but witnesses to a forgotten philosophy, their open mouths once holding the final breaths of an entire civilization, waiting for us to listen. While the stone jars of Laos held the remains of the dead, an entire city in Turkey was built to protect the living by hiding them from the world above. The landscape of Cappadocia seems otherworldly, with its famous fairy chimneys and soft volcanic rock. But the true wonder lies beneath it. In 1963, a man renovating his home knocked down a wall in his basement and stumbled into a dark, unknown space. This was not a small cellar, but the entrance to a lost city. Derinkuyu is an underground metropolis, an 18-story deep labyrinth carved directly into the stone, capable of sheltering up to 20,000 people. This was not a simple cave network, but a feat of engineering with a breathtaking complexity that rivaled any surface settlement. Its architects designed a completely self-sufficient world, complete with ventilation shafts that reached hundreds of feet up to the surface to provide fresh air even at the deepest levels. They dug their own wells, tapping into an underground water source that could not be poisoned by attackers from above. There were stables for livestock, sprawling living quarters, communal kitchens, churches with vaulted ceilings, and even sophisticated wine presses for producing a vital source of nourishment and trade. Massive circular stone doors, each weighing half a ton, could be rolled across the corridors to seal the city section by section, creating an impenetrable fortress against any who pursued them. The entire city was a secret weapon, a place where entire communities could vanish from the face of the earth for months at a time, leaving invading armies to find only empty villages and silent fields. The purpose of this hidden world was pure survival. For centuries, the people of Cappadocia used Derinkuyu as a refuge, disappearing underground to escape wave after wave of persecution and war. The true, humbling secret is that Derinkuyu is not alone. It is merely one node in a vast, interconnected subterranean network. Narrow, hidden tunnels, some stretching for miles, connected to other underground cities, creating a regional safe zone of staggering proportions. The full scale of this hidden civilization is still not known. Every few years, a new cave-in or a ground-penetrating radar survey reveals another passageway, another chamber, another entire city waiting to be rediscovered. For generations, people farmed the land and built their homes directly above this secret world, completely unaware that a lost metropolis slept in the darkness just beneath their feet. The same hands that carved the colossal moai also created a written language, a secret code etched onto wooden tablets that has never been broken. On the isolated shores of Easter Island, a collection of these artifacts, covered in a unique hieroglyphic script known as Rongorongo, presents one of the world's most stubborn linguistic mysteries. These are not simple pictographs, but a complex system of glyphs featuring human figures, animals, and geometric shapes, all arranged in a precise Boustrophedon pattern, meaning the text reverses direction with each new line like an ox plowing a field. This sophisticated structure confirms it was a true writing system, the only one ever independently invented in the entire Pacific. Yet today, its meaning is completely lost to us. The final, tragic key to unlocking it vanished in the 1860s, when Peruvian slave raiders descended upon the island and carried off nearly all of the learned elders and chieftains, the very people who held the knowledge of how to read the sacred script. With them died the living memory of Rongorongo. The surviving tablets became beautiful but silent orphans, their stories trapped forever behind an unreadable curtain. What secrets do these wooden plaques hold? One compelling theory suggests they are not historical records, but a form of proto-writing, a mnemonic device used by priests to recall vast epic chants, perhaps detailing the island's creation myths or the genealogies of its powerful clans. The glyphs would not represent individual words, but act as triggers for entire verses of oral poetry, memorized and passed down through generations. Another idea posits they are ceremonial calendars, marking the intricate cycles of seasons, stars, and religious festivals that governed Rapa Nui life. The true, heartbreaking secret is that the answer is likely hiding in plain sight, preserved under glass in museums from London to Santiago. These tablets were not buried in tombs or lost in caves. They were saved by the islanders themselves and later collected by outsiders who recognized their importance but could not grasp their meaning. We possess the very books of this lost civilization, but we lack the alphabet to read them. Each carefully incised line on those worn pieces of wood is a direct message from the past, a plea from a people whose world was shattered, asking us to remember the stories they no longer could. The silent guardians of the terracotta army have a secret far greater than their own imposing ranks. For decades, these thousands of clay soldiers have drawn the world's attention, but they are merely the outer sentinels, the decoys for the true prize that lies deep beneath a nearby, unexcavated mound. This is the tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China, and it is believed to be one of the most spectacular and most toxic archaeological sites on Earth. Our most detailed account comes from the grand historian Sima Qian, writing a century after the emperor's death. he described a subterranean paradise, a microcosm of the emperor's entire domain. The ceiling of the burial chamber was inlaid with pearls to represent the constellations of the night sky. Below, miniature bronze models of his palaces and pavilions stood in silent tribute. And coursing through this underground world were vast-scale model replicas of China's two great rivers, the Yangtze and the Yellow River, but with one chilling difference. Instead of water, these rivers flowed with shimmering, liquid mercury. For a long time, this account was dismissed as a fantastical legend, a myth to match the emperor's immense ego. Then modern science intervened. Geochemical surveys of the soil over the tomb mound have repeatedly detected mercury concentrations hundreds of times higher than normal background levels. The readings are not uniform either. They form distinct, meandering patterns that eerily mirror the actual courses of the rivers Sima Qian described. The legend of the Mercury rivers appears to be a literal, scientific truth. This revelation transforms the tomb from a simple burial chamber into an almost mythical death trap. The mercury was not just for show, it was a deliberate and terrifyingly effective security system. In its liquid form, mercury is dangerous, but when it evaporates in an enclosed space, it creates an invisible, odorless, and lethal atmosphere. Anyone attempting to breach the inner sanctum would be met with a poisonous fog, a guardian that never sleeps. Sima Qian also wrote of crossbow traps, rigged to fire automatically at any intruder, creating a multi-layered defense of both mechanical and chemical horror. The secret guarded by this toxic environment is a time capsule of unimaginable value. It holds the potential for a perfectly preserved snapshot of the Qin dynasty, frozen at the moment of its greatest power. The emperor was buried with his court, his concubines, and his artisans, sealed alive to serve him in the afterlife according to some accounts. The artifacts within, from silks to written records on bamboo slips, could have survived intact in the sealed, mercury-laced environment, potentially rewriting our understanding of ancient China. The tomb remains unexcavated not for lack of curiosity, but out of profound respect for its dangers and a commitment to preserving its fragile contents. We know exactly where it is, we have scientific proof of its marvels, and yet it remains hidden in plain sight, a treasure chest and a tomb, waiting for the day we possess the technology to safely unlock its 2,000-year-old secrets. Buried beneath a quiet Scottish field for half a century lay a 5,000-year-old secret, a massive sandstone slab covered in a breathtaking galaxy of swirling art. When archaeologists carefully lifted the turf in 2015, they revealed the Kochno stone in its full glory, a 5,000-year-old canvas of intricate spirals, concentric circles, and mysterious grooves. This was not random graffiti, it was a deliberate and sophisticated language of symbols known as cup and ring marks, carved by Neolithic farmers who looked at the night sky and saw a story they desperately needed to tell. The stone's surface is a chaotic masterpiece, a sprawling network of artistry that feels both ancient and strangely futuristic. Some researchers see in these patterns a detailed celestial map. The central cups could represent specific stars, while the radiating rings and connecting grooves chart their movements and relationships across the heavens. Could this sprawling design be a snapshot of the Milky Way, or a record of a long-forgotten supernova that blazed in the sky 5 millennia ago? The stone's location, positioned on a high ridge with an unobstructed view of the horizon, supports this astronomical theory. It would have been the perfect observatory, a place where priests or astronomers tracked the turning of the seasons etched directly into the living rock. Yet there is another, more spiritual interpretation. The same swirling patterns that might map the stars could also represent a portal, a symbolic entrance to the spirit world or the underworld. In this view, the Kochno stone was not a chart but an altar. Rituals performed here might have involved pouring liquids like water, blood, or milk into the central cups, watching as the offerings flowed along the pre-carved grooves, physically enacting a connection between our world and the next. The act of carving itself could have been a deeply religious act, a way of making permanent a spiritual journey that was otherwise invisible. This single artifact, therefore, holds two profound and parallel secrets. It is at once a sophisticated scientific instrument and a powerful religious icon, a testament to a time when understanding the cosmos and connecting with the divine were one and the same pursuit. The modern decision to rebury the stone for its own protection adds a final, poignant layer to its mystery. We had to hide it again to preserve this incredible message from the Stone Age from vandalism and erosion. It now rests safely beneath the soil, a cosmic map and a spiritual gateway sleeping under a suburban lawn. A reminder that some of history's greatest treasures are not in museums, but waiting just beneath our feet, asking us to remember the sky as they saw it. The stones themselves are not silent. Across the globe, ancient builders engineered their monuments not just for the eye, but for the ear, embedding a hidden layer of sensory experience directly into the architecture. In the heart of Ireland's Boyne Valley, the 5,000-year-old passage tomb of Newgrange holds an acoustic secret within its narrow, stone-lined corridor. When you speak or chant inside this ancient space, your voice is transformed. The sound does not simply echo, it becomes richer, deeper, and more resonant, as if the stones themselves are harmonizing with you. This is not a random effect of the enclosed space, but a carefully calculated result of the specific dimensions and the hard, reflective surfaces of the massive stones. The builders of Newgrange understood that sound could alter human consciousness, that the vibrations of a chant or a drumbeat in that chamber could transport a participant into a different state of mind, bridging the gap between the physical world and the spiritual realm. This intentional design is even more dramatic beneath the island of Malta. The hypogeum of Hal Saflieni, a labyrinthine underground temple carved from solid limestone, contains a chamber known as the Oracle Room. A deep male voice spoken or chanted into a specific niche in this room does not just resonate, it travels, vibrating through the stone to be heard with perfect clarity throughout the entire complex, as if the walls themselves are speaking. The sound seems to emanate from everywhere and nowhere at once, a disembodied voice of God or ancestor, a perfect tool for a priest to command awe and authority. Half a world away at Chichen Itza in Mexico, the Maya achieved a different kind of sonic miracle. When you stand at the base of the great El Castillo pyramid and clap your hands, the sound that bounces back to you is not a simple clap. It is the distinct, ethereal chirp of the sacred Quetzal bird. This was no happy accident. The stepped terraces of the pyramid act like a sound diffractor, breaking the single clap into a cascade of tiny echoes that merge into that specific, otherworldly frequency. For the Maya, the Quetzal bird was a celestial messenger, a creature that moved between the earth and the heavens. To have its call summoned from the very stones of their most important temple during a ritual was to have the gods themselves answer. These acoustic phenomena were a fundamental part of the sacred experience. The drone in a tomb, the omnipresent voice in a hypogeum, the bird call from a pyramid, they were all carefully engineered tools. They could induce trance states, amplify the power of a ritual, and create the tangible feeling of a divine presence. The secret of these places is not just in their alignment with the stars, but in their resonance with the human spirit, a hidden technology of sound that still vibrates through the stones, waiting for a handclap or a whisper to bring it back to life. A simple stone bowl, resting in a small museum in La Paz, Bolivia, quietly threatens to tear a hole in the map of ancient history. Known as the Fuente Magna, this large ceremonial vessel was discovered by a farmer in the 1950s near Lake Titicaca, and for decades it was dismissed as a curious local artifact. Its true secret, however, is etched across its interior. The bowl is covered in intricate carvings, and to the astonishment of a handful of linguists, these symbols bear a striking and deeply controversial resemblance to Proto-Sumerian cuneiform, the writing system of one of the world's first civilizations, which flourished in Mesopotamia in what is now Iraq over 5,000 years ago. The implications of this are staggering. If the inscriptions are authentic, they suggest that Sumerian explorers or traders somehow crossed the Atlantic Ocean or Pacific Ocean and made contact with pre-Columbian cultures in South America millennia before any known transoceanic voyage. This is not just a revision of history, it is a complete overturning of the timeline of human exploration. The linguistic analysis, though fiercely contested, points to specific phrases. Some researchers claim the script includes dedications to the Sumerian goddess Ninkasi, the deity of beer and fermentation, and to Enki, the god of water and creation. The bowl itself, with its deep basin, could have been used for libations or offerings, a sacred object that perfectly blends the ritual practices of two worlds that were never supposed to have met. How could a prayer to a Mesopotamian goddess end up carved into stone on the high plains of Bolivia? The mainstream archaeological establishment largely dismisses the Fuente Magna as an elaborate modern forgery, a hoax created to bring fame or tourism to the region. They point to the lack of any other Sumerian artifacts in South America and the stylistic differences in the script. The secret of the bowl, therefore, is not just in its potential to rewrite history, but in the fierce debate it ignites. It forces us to ask a difficult question. Are we dismissing such finds too quickly because they do not fit our established narrative, or is our skepticism a necessary shield against fantastical claims? The Fuente Magna sits in its display case, a silent, stubborn enigma. It is either one of the most important archaeological discoveries of all time or one of the most clever deceptions, its true story hidden not in a lost city, but in plain sight, waiting for a consensus that may never come. A collection of stones in a small Peruvian museum presents one of history's most explosive and controversial secrets. The Ica stones are thousands of river rocks, some the size of a fist, others as large as a melon, each meticulously engraved with scenes that should not exist. On their dark surfaces, human figures are shown in direct, intimate contact with creatures we recognize instantly as dinosaurs, some riding on their backs like domesticated animals, others hunting them with primitive weapons. But the strangeness does not end there. Other stones depict complex medical procedures, including what appears to be open-heart surgery and cesarean sections, with physicians using tools that look nothing like the artifacts we have from ancient Peru. There are charts of the stars and even illustrations of telescopes, technology supposedly millennia away from being invented. The narrative presented by these stones is a complete historical heresy, suggesting a forgotten age where humans and dinosaurs coexisted, and a lost civilization possessed knowledge rivaling our own. The central burning secret is their authenticity. Are they a genuine artifact from the ancient Ica culture, or one of the most successful and elaborate hoaxes of the 20th century? The story begins with a local farmer named Basilio Ashuya. In the 1960s, he began selling these stones to a physician, Dr. Javier Cabrera, who became their most ardent believer. Ashuya initially claimed he found them in a cave, but he later confessed to authorities that he and his relatives had carved the stones themselves using a dental drill and then aged them by baking them in cow dung to create an ancient patina. He said he was inspired by comic books and textbooks to create the fantastical images. This confession seems to be the final word, a clear admission of a modern forgery. Yet the story is not so simple. Proponents of the stone's authenticity point out that Ashuya later recanted his confession, saying he only admitted to the hoax to avoid prosecution for selling archaeological artifacts, which was illegal. They argue the sheer volume of the stones, over 15,000 of them, makes a single forger seem implausible. Furthermore, some geologists who have examined the stones insist the dark, desert varnish patina covering the engravings is genuine and could not have been artificially created in a few decades. They claim the engravings cut through this ancient patina, proving the carvings are as old as the rocks themselves. This creates an impossible standoff. We have a confessed forger, but also physical evidence that some scientists believe supports a prehistoric origin. The secret of the Ica stones forces us to confront a deeply unsettling question. Do we dismiss them because they are simply too incredible to be true, because their message would dismantle everything we know about evolution and human history? Or is the simpler answer the correct one, that a clever farmer with a little ingenuity and a lot of time managed to create a mystery that has fooled enthusiasts and divided experts for generations? The stones remain a collection of impossible stories etched in stone, their truth hidden not in a lost tomb, but in the conflicting motives of the people who found them and the profound human desire to believe in a past far more wondrous than the one we know. The streets of Washington, D.C. form a secret language. Look down from above, beyond the famous monuments and political theaters, and the city's true design emerges as a web of sacred geometry. The original architect, Pierre L'Enfant, was a Freemason, a member of a fraternal order steeped in ancient symbols and the belief that proper geometric forms could channel divine order into the human world. His plan for the Capitol was far more than a practical grid. It was a massive talisman etched into the landscape. Begin with the most obvious pattern, a perfect five-pointed star, a pentagram formed by the convergence of major avenues. Its points touch critical nodes of power: the White House, the Capitol, the Judiciary Square, and other key locations, creating an invisible web of energy connecting the branches of government. This is not a satanic symbol, as some might assume, but an ancient emblem of protection and microcosmic order, a shape the Masons associated with the 5 points of fellowship and the human form. Now draw a line from the Capitol building to the White House. This forms the base of a massive square and compass, the most iconic emblem of Freemasonry. The compass arm swings upward from the Capitol, while the square extends from the White House, their intersection creating a vast, invisible tool over the district. The Washington Monument, that stark white obelisk, acts as the central focal point, a symbolic cornerstone anchoring the entire geometric scheme. Why embed such potent symbols into the very blueprint of a nation? The founding generation believed they were creating a new order for the ages, a novus ordo seclorum, as stated on the Great Seal. They sought to ground this radical experiment in republicanism, not just in Enlightenment philosophy, but in what they saw as eternal, universal principles. The city was to be a physical representation of celestial harmony on earth, its streets and structures aligned to attract benevolent forces and ensure the stability and longevity of the Republic. Every time a president is inaugurated on the Capitol's west front, or a law is passed within that building, these actions are occurring at a precise point within this hidden symbolic matrix. The city itself is a ritual space, its power hidden not in a locked vault, but in the most public map imaginable, a constant, silent reminder that the foundations of power are often built on mysteries we have simply forgotten how to see. That same sense of a living past, preserved against all odds, was found deep within a cave system on New Zealand's South Island. In 1986, archaeologists exploring the labyrinthine passages of Mount Owen made a discovery that seemed to freeze time itself. Their headlamps illuminated not just bones, but a complete leg and claw, covered in desiccated skin and scales, belonging to a creature that had not walked the earth for 500 years. This was the upland moa, a giant flightless bird that once stood over 3 meters tall, and here was a piece of it, looking as if it had perished only a few decades ago. The secret to this incredible preservation was the cave's unique environment. The chamber where the moa died acted as a perfect natural refrigerator. The air was consistently cold and incredibly dry, with a stable humidity that prevented the growth of the bacteria and fungi that normally cause decay. In this sterile, sealed space, the bird's leg underwent a process of natural mummification. Its tissues slowly dried out, leaving behind skin, muscle tendons, and that fearsome claw, all locked in a state of suspended animation for centuries. This was not a fossil where bone has been slowly replaced by stone. This was the real thing, a tangible piece of a lost world you could almost reach out and touch. The implications for science were immediate and profound. For the first time, researchers had access to pristine genetic material from a long-vanished species. The DNA extracted from this claw provided an unparalleled window into the moa's biology, its evolutionary history, and the precise reasons for its extinction. It confirmed that these magnificent birds were hunted to extinction by the first Polynesian settlers, the Maori, a sobering reminder of humanity's impact on fragile ecosystems. To hold that claw is to bridge a gap of half a millennium, to feel the startling reality of a creature from our planet's recent past. It proves that history's lost chapters are not always turned to stone, but can sometimes be waiting in a dark, quiet room, perfectly preserved and ready to tell their story. Its enduring mystery is woven directly into its fibers, a paradox of faith and science that has never been resolved. The Shroud of Turin is a simple piece of linen, yet it holds the ghostly, faint image of a man who appears to have suffered crucifixion, his body bearing the wounds described in the biblical account of Jesus. For centuries, it was venerated as the actual burial cloth of Christ, a sacred relic. Then, in 1988, science seemed to deliver a definitive verdict. Radiocarbon dating, the gold standard for determining the age of organic material, placed the shroud's origin squarely in the medieval period between 1260 and 1390. The case appeared closed, a masterpiece of medieval forgery, but the secret refused to die. How could a medieval artist with no knowledge of photography or human anatomy create an image with such stunning, three-dimensional precision? The picture on the shroud is not painted. It is a superficial discoloration of the topmost linen fibers, an effect more akin to a photographic negative than a painting, a concept that did not exist for another 500 years. The image captures anatomical details no forger of the time would have known, from the precise placement of the nails through the wrists, not the palms, to the flow of what appears to be real blood. Studies of these stains suggest they behaved like actual blood, with serum halos around the wounds, a detail nearly impossible to fake. Botanists have even identified pollen grains embedded in the cloth that are specific to ancient Palestine, placing its history in the exact right part of the world, centuries before its carbon date. So we are left with a perfect historical standoff. The carbon dating points to the Middle Ages, while the physical and biological evidence points to 1st century Jerusalem. Which piece of the puzzle do we trust? The theories are as varied as the evidence. Believers see the image as the result of a miraculous burst of energy at the moment of resurrection, a divine flash that burned the likeness onto the cloth. Skeptics propose an ingenious, lost medieval technique, perhaps using a camera obscura and a chemical mixture to create a primitive photograph. Others suggest a natural chemical reaction between the linen and the compounds released by a decomposing body. The true secret of the Shroud of Turin is not just its origin, but its stubborn refusal to be categorized. It exists in the liminal space between artifact and miracle, a relic that has been subjected to the most advanced scrutiny our world can offer, and yet its core truth remains perfectly, beautifully hidden, waiting in plain sight for a final answer that may never come. The ghostly figure on the Shroud of Turin is not painted. It is a perfect, seamless discoloration, a faint shadow burned into the very top layer of the linen threads. If you were to examine a single fiber under a microscope, you would find no trace of pigment, no brushstrokes, no substance that was applied. The image exists only as a chemical change in the cellulose of the flax, as if the cloth itself was altered from within. This superficial, non-directional quality is the core of the scientific mystery. It means the image was not created by contact, as no artist could have stained the thread so perfectly and so faintly without leaving behind a directional mark or a pooling of color. The effect is more like a scorch, but one created without heat, a perfect photographic negative rendered centuries before the invention of the camera. So what natural force could possibly achieve such a thing? One of the leading theories points to a simple chemical process known as the Maillard reaction. This is the same reaction that browns a piece of toast or sears a steak. In this scenario, the theory suggests that a body laid in the shroud released ammonia and other volatile gases as it decomposed. These chemicals, reacting with the carbohydrates in the linen over time, could have caused a slow, gentle browning of the outermost fibers, creating the image. It is a plausible, natural explanation, but it struggles to account for the image's stunning three-dimensional precision and its lack of any distortion you would expect from a liquid diffusion process. How could gases from a decomposing body create such a photorealistic, anatomically perfect human form without blurring or smudging? This gap in the naturalistic explanation opens the door to far more extraordinary ideas. Another, more controversial theory proposes a sudden, intense burst of energy. This would not be a fire, but a flash of radiation or light, perhaps in the ultraviolet spectrum, that emanated from the body itself for a fraction of a second. Such a burst could have oxidized and dehydrated the linen fibers instantly, burning the image onto the cloth through a process akin to radiation photography. This could explain the superficial nature of the stain and its incredible precision, as the intensity of the energy would have dropped off rapidly with distance, affecting only the very top of the threads. It is a theory that leans into the realm of the miraculous, suggesting an event of such power that it left a permanent physical record. Yet here we are in the 21st century, with all our advanced technology and material science, and we still cannot replicate the shroud's image exactly. We can create superficial discolorations, we can mimic the effect with lasers, but we cannot reproduce every single one of its unique characteristics in one perfect, unified object. The method remains just out of reach, a secret locked in the chemistry of the cloth itself. The shroud does not give up its final answer, challenging us to wonder if its creation was a fluke of nature, a lost art of an unknown genius, or something that truly exists beyond our current understanding of the physical world. We have walked through 30 hidden doorways into the past, from a brain concealed in a holy ceiling to a city sleeping beneath a modern park. Each of these secrets shares a single, powerful truth. History is not a dusty book on a forgotten shelf, its story already written and complete. It is a living, breathing puzzle, and its pieces are scattered all around us, waiting to be noticed. They are carved into the stones of our oldest forts, stitched into the borders of our oldest tapestries, and encoded in the very streets of our most powerful cities. These mysteries are a permanent invitation to look closer, to question the official story, and to understand that the world is far stranger and more wonderful than it first appears. They remind us that curiosity is our greatest tool, and that the next great discovery might not require a shovel, but simply a fresh perspective on something you walk past every single day. The adventure does not end here. The greatest historical secret of all is that there are countless more still hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone like you to notice. So we turn the question over to you. What is your favorite historical mystery? Share it in the comments below, and let's continue this conversation. If you enjoyed this journey into the hidden corners of our past, please give this video a like and subscribe for more adventures. The next great secret is out there, and it is waiting for you to find it.